So somebody created a video of Sam Altman in a toilet saying skibbity, 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 skibbity. And I laughed, right? It's really childish and it's silly, but it's also funny and it's entertaining. And so, is it not all fair use?
I don't know. I don't know where it's. I mean, because it depends on what the person creates as well, doesn't it?
Welcome to the AI Argument.
You're here with me, Frank Prendergast, and my co-host Justin Collery. This is the AI Argument, and there have been so many releases and announcements this week, Justin.
Feel the acceleration. Feel the acceleration. My goodness. Do you remember? I'm old enough to remember when I held my breath for about 4 months when I was waiting for a release. And, they're like buses, but they're like brilliant bus service where you get like millions of them every single week.
What was that? Was that GPT-4? Was that GPT-4 when you were holding your breath?
I can't remember. Was it GPT-4 or something like that? Yeah. And of all the things we can talk about, it's not even a third of what was released. I'm just going to mention at the top, right? Google released loads of stuff. We're not even going to talk about what Google released this week. But that's not the biggest release, Frank. What was the biggest release this week?
I think the one that everyone is talking about and playing with, except for us because it's not released here yet, is Sora 2. Sora 2
Why isn't it released in Europe, Frank?
We don't know, Justin. Don't blame the EU AI Act on this one. We do not know why it's not released here. I think that it's actually just they're doing a slow rollout because not only is it only in the US and Canada right now, it's the EU has not been singled out, so it's not the EU AI Act, but also it's being released in an app. And also you have to be invited. So when you get access, you get some invites, you can send those invites to people. So they seem to be doing a very kind of measured, slow rollout on this one, I guess, to try and keep an eye on it as it rolls out and keep a kind of a handle on it in case things go horribly wrong, which I think this has the potential to do. It's amazing. It's their new video model, and I guess the big feature, we'll get the big feature out of the way first. Big feature is this thing called Cameo. So you can now give it a little, you can create a cameo. It'll ask you to record a video to make sure it's you. And it'll say, move your head left, move your head right. And you have to do it at the right time so they know it's you. You speak some words that they give you to speak, again, making sure that you're the person creating the cameo. Once the cameo is created, you can then create videos that feature you, and they're really good. They're really good quality deepfakes from what I've seen. I'm saying deepfakes. I just use deepfakes.
For any... It's yourself is not a deepfake. It's only a deepfake if you're making videos of other people, surely, right? If you've made a video of yourself, it's just a clone.
I call any scarily good clone of somebody real a deepfake at this stage. It reminds people of the dangers of doing this.
What's your view on this? Because one of the things that I noticed was that this was an opt-out service from a copyright point of view. So OpenAI started contacting rights holders and studios and so on last week saying, look, this new service is coming. If you don't want your copyrighted material included, let us know. And what I've seen this week is, there was a whole load of videos of Michael Jackson at the start of the week, and apparently that's been stopped now. So Michael Jackson's estate has said, we don't want videos of Michael Jackson anymore. There's been videos, other people have embraced it and said, look, I'll give people, gifts for the best video. So that's sort of their, jumping on top of the marketing. But you're always hot on the copyright side of things. What's your view on the copyright sort of ins and outs of this one?
Well, look, first of all, it goes back to the age-old question of, what is fair use in training data? So let's not touch that with a barge pole, but it all goes back to that. But at least they are saying that they will allow people to opt out. However, when I tried to look into what the situation with opting out was, it was a little bit hazy because some people were saying that you could contact them and say that you didn't want your intellectual property being recreated in Sora 2. However, I saw a lot of other reports saying that no, you actually had to report any given instance of a likeness and put in an opt-out claim that way. So it's not like Universal Studios. It sounds like Universal Studios couldn't just get in touch and say, "Hey, our stuff is off limits." It sounds like they'd have to be like, "Okay, this film was spotted. Remove this one. This film was spotted," which means that somebody at Universal Studio is going to have to be on Sora 2 forever, scrolling, looking for infringing content. It's
For
hard
those who
if that's true, but these are the reports that I was reading.
So, and let's just describe, if people haven't seen any of the videos, let's just describe what they look like, right? So these videos are, one, they're entertaining, they're fun, right? I can totally see a parody type excuse for a lot of the videos that people might give out about. They're brilliant, right? The quality, they even the sort of the test they done, the original test was what's his face eating pasta. Right, that was the original sort of video test.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, and it's brilliant. That the next one after that really used to catch up these models was a person doing gymnastics, and the legs would go everywhere. And it was kind of entertaining. They were so bad, and I've seen this one do gymnastics, and it's not perfect, but at least it's anatomically fairly correct, right? Legs don't start jumping out of their heads and stuff.
And it can do some perfect clips. Like I've seen some that I would have been like, "Wait, was that real?" And then as the clip goes on, you're like, "Oh no, it's not." But nothing like the giveaways that we've seen previously, for sure.
And that my favorite word is skibbity, and every time I say it, it makes my kids cringe, right? And I don't know if you know where skibbity comes from. Do you know where skibbity comes from?
This is the weird toilet meme on YouTube,
yes.
right?
Right. It's the weird toilet meme on YouTube and TikTok and all those things. And so you can create videos. So somebody created a video of Sam Altman in a toilet saying skibbity, 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 skibbity. And I laughed, right? It's really childish and it's silly, but it's also funny and it's entertaining. And so, is it not all fair use? I mean, the videos are not purporting to be the people themselves. The videos are clearly entertaining. They're short. How long are they? 15 seconds, I think, at the moment is what it's limited to. I think it could do more. So this to me is all fair use, surely.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know where it's. I mean, because it depends on what the person creates as well, doesn't it? Yeah, it might be fair use, if it's parody. I'm talking about, I guess, US law here now.
Yep.
Seeing as that's where it is. But I guess somebody could equally create something that was purporting, to be from that brand. And then it's not fair use, I guess. I'd like to go back to the cameos, because you mentioned something interesting there. You talked about Sam Altman in the Skibbity video.
Mm-hmm.
So what I find interesting about the cameos is when you create your cameo and you can now put yourself into videos, I could share my cameo with you. I could say Justin can make cameos of me. I could also share it with a particular group of people, I think, or I could share it with the entire world.
Brilliant. Now, let's do it.
No, absolutely not. I was looking at that setting going, should that even be a setting? Like, what if somebody hits that by accident? I don't even know if that should be a setting. But interestingly, Sam Altman must have turned on that setting, because similarly, I saw a buddy of mine, John Leland. He did a video of himself in a car with Sam Altman, and my buddy John Leland was saying, should we be worried about AI? And Sam Altman's like, no, and speeds off in the car.
And Matthew Berman shared his one with everybody, with the world.
Really?
Yeah. I believe he did, right? I didn't realize the import, because he had a picture of the setting, and he was like, should I not? And he's like, screw it, I'll do it. So wow. I think he did. He was certainly considering. No, he definitely did, because then he was one of the people who was like, I'll give something, or I'll promote whoever makes the most entertaining video with me in it.
Wow. Would you do it? So would you make your cameo global?
Look, as I said before, using me as your relier on my judgment is probably a sort of fast way to, a lot of pain. I mean, would I do it? I probably would. I mean, because, whatever, it's going to happen anyway. I mean, I'm not as risk averse, perhaps, as some people. I also see the marketing.
I'm pointing at myself for anyone who's listening.
But I also see, like, from, let's say, Matthew Berman's point of view, it's a great marketing tool.
Yes,
I can see certain TV shows, or I could see, celebrities or brands releasing these and saying, right, I'm going to give away something to somebody who makes great videos of these. And that's a viral video moment. So it is.
I think that's a really clever idea to do that. I think that's really smart. I did see as well that apparently if you share your Cameo, you can see obviously you can see any cameos. You get notified of any cameos that people create of you, and apparently you can even see drafts. Like if someone has drafted a cameo with you in it, you can see that draft as well. So I guess
Yep.
there's, you might be able to say, hang on, don't publish that one.
Yeah. So I want to get your opinion on, so Sam Altman, I mean, this is a magical meme machine, basically, is what he's created here. And a week or two ago, Sam Altman was being interviewed about all the investment in the data centers and so on that they were creating. And he said that it's very important that they build out all of these data centers because he didn't want to make a choice as to whether to cure cancer or make a silly video. What's he gone and done? He's gone and made a silly video.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully he thinks obviously he can do both, but I'm just interested to know what you think. Should this compute be used for higher purposes, or do you think this is a good commercial model?
I mean, I'm really fascinated by what on earth was driving Sora 2, because it's been released in its own app. It's been released as a kind of this is the social media platform that we heard that might be in development in OpenAI. I think we talked about it on a previous episode, that there were these rumors of a social media app. Well, this is it. It's seen as a social media app, but it's free to use right now. I saw Sam Altman saying somewhere that I've heard conflicting reports on how long it'll be free for, basically. And he has said, it's not about doom scrolling. They're going to be encouraging people to take breaks, and they're going to be encouraging people that when they've scrolled for too long, that they'll say, oh, maybe you should create your own video instead of scrolling all the time. So I don't really get what they're up to with Sora 2. I think they're up to something. I'm not 100% sure what it is. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they're just seeing where this leads. But it's a weird play, I think. I don't really get it, and I'm waiting for it all to play out to figure out what they're up to.
I'll tell you one possibility, Frank. Here's one interesting thing as you talk about that, right? Because that's a good point. So, captchas. Do you know why captchas were first created? You know this story.
I call them captchas. The are you a robot? Is it
tomato? Yeah, are you a robot? And it was identify all the motorbikes or identify all the traffic lights or whatever it happened to be. That was for training machine learning models. That was the purpose. And I wonder, by creating all these videos, are they actually what they're doing? And then people either like the videos or don't like the videos. And from that, then they're getting data on what is a good video and what is a bad video. And it's a great way to collect data for that. So maybe there's something going on there.
Yeah, maybe so. That's interesting, because didn't it come up actually in their when they were releasing the information on how people use ChatGPT? I vaguely remember that there was something in there about, like, they were looking at what results got reported as good or bad in ChatGPT. But I'd say the amount of users who do that is probably minimal. Like, I use ChatGPT all the time, and I never give it feedback.
So me neither.
Yeah. So I think you could really be onto something there, that this is kind of ensuring that the feedback feature is used on Sora 2 by way of making it this social media feed. Yeah, that's really interesting.
And let's just go down the evil brilliance there, right? Because if we look at Google, who are their biggest competitor, one of Google's great advantages is that they have YouTube, and YouTube has all these videos. And so if you don't have access to people uploading videos, what do? Create a social media site where people make the videos, and then they don't have to upload them.
Yeah. No, I think you could really be onto something there. That kind of that's the only thing I've heard so far that makes sense of this to me, for sure.
So the other thing that OpenAI did this week is they allowed you to start shopping on OpenAI. Now, that is absolutely brilliant. So when you get Stripe, they've done it, and Stripe have now become the biggest European AI company, and they're Irish, which is great. And so they've become directly embedded into OpenAI. So when you're searching for things, if it ends up coming across a site where there's a product there that you can buy. You can click directly on it and buy that. Now, I didn't see anything in the commercial terms that said that there was a kickback to OpenAI or, a percentage, but you can see that that will be a thing. I mean, Apple charge 30% every time you click on something in the App Store. So you can see OpenAI are going to, angle for a similar type of commercial link up. So what do you think of that too? I mean, people were giving out because they said that OpenAI was going to start advertising. They're not, but they're allowing you to buy stuff directly in the app now.
Yeah, and they're saying that, and they're having to go to great lengths to say to people, this will not impact on the results that you are served. It will just allow you to purchase things that are purchasable. But I have the same, cynicism around this as I do with Sora 2, which is, how long will this kind of altruistic version of it exist? How long will it be before the commercial pressures force them to change what's served in order to make more money? Or in Sora's case, how long will it be before they say, you know what, it was a lovely idea to tell people to take breaks and not to doom scroll, but actually it serves us better if we actually just let them doom scroll. Let's just let them doom scroll.
They're totally going to let people doom scroll, by the way. That's just, that's it. I give it. I don't think they'll ever charge for the service, though. I think it's impossible for them. Like, there's no other social media site that you have to pay to get onto. And so the commercial imperative will be not to charge to get onto that service. So I wouldn't be at all worried about them charging for it, not in the current format.
Unless they only need to harvest a certain amount of reinforcement learning to create the next model, and then they don't care. In that case, we might suddenly find ourselves having to pay to generate videos. Because, video generation... Like VO3, for example, which is the closest thing we've had to Sora 2 up until now, that costs a lot of money.
Yeah, it does. But I think this comes down to the commercial trade-off will be how expensive is it to generate the videos as opposed to curate or to grab the videos from outside. And so they're giving away the videos for free. You know the old thing, right? If you don't know what the product is, you're the product. That's what's going on here, I think, in that respect. So... now, sorry, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, it's the whole Sora 2 thing.
Yes.
Is very, very different to what Mira Murati's company announced this week, Thinking Machines. So we were talking about them recently. They had that blog post about, what was their blog post recently about? But it was very, very technical. We discussed
maths. Lots of maths and why they're non-deterministic, why A's are non-deterministic, yes.
So all of their stuff seems to be very, very aimed at more developy, techie side of people.
Research. Yep.
And their first product is called Tinker, which I've seen has actually already raised some eyebrows in Ireland and the UK in terms of possibly being a rather insensitive name, given that it's a racial slur over here, which I'm sure Thinking Machines were probably just completely blissfully unaware of.
Sure.
But I think it's meant in the more colloquial sense of tinkering with machinery, because it's basically a way of fine-tuning open source LLMs for very, very specific tasks, such as research and potentially other very, very specific technical areas or regulated industries and things like that. What did you make of Tinker?
I've seen from the people in the field, I've seen a lot of good feedback. They say, look, this is perfect if you want to fine tune a model. This takes away all the difficulty of fine tuning the models. It lets me focus on, let's say you've got 100 knobs to play with. It takes away 90 of the knobs that you really don't be interested in anyway, and it leaves you then more control over the 10 that you really should. So from a technical point of view, seems like a really solid piece of work. From a commercial point of view, I do wonder, it's an interesting contrast between one AI company is releasing social media apps and allowing you to buy stuff from within their chat sessions, and the other one are releasing tools for developers and stuff. And my big problem with this is that I haven't yet seen, like in my sort of personal and my professional, way of working with LLMs, I haven't yet seen a good use case for taking a small, less capable LLM and fine tuning it as opposed to just using a bigger, more capable model and just using the raw capabilities of that model. Now, that's not to say that those use cases don't exist, right? I'm sure, I mean, if you put this on the internet, people say, oh, well, I've used it for this and I've used it for that, right? Yes, there may be use cases where you want to fine tune a model, but they're edge cases, right? They're not the usual. For 90 or 95%, I think, of users of LLMs, just use a bigger, better model, right? And if it doesn't do it yet, wait 6 months and a bigger, better model will come along that does do the thing that you want. And so I hope that what we're seeing here is an interim product, a step. So what they're doing, I hope, is they are releasing this product because they are using it internally to build the thing which they're actually hoping to release in the end of it. That would be great. Everything that we've said, like what we're doing here, right? Building LLMs, right? Building these new models is the equivalent of going to the moon. And it takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of capital. And years gone by, governments went to the moon because they were the only ones who had the money to do it. Now, nowadays, companies are able to do these big projects, but it doesn't change the economics that it takes a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of manpower and a lot of capital. And so when I contrast what's going on at OpenAI, I look at a company, I know that you don't trust them, but I look at a company and I say, well, what they're doing is they're amassing a large amount of capital. And, conceptually, they're putting some of that capital aside to generate more money in order to feed the greater goal, which is AGI. Whereas I see Mira Murati's, now she was the CTO, by the way, of OpenAI. She is a very impressive technical lady. But what they are doing is they're focusing on the technical side. And I hope that it succeeds, right? Because she's trying to do this. I mean, I've read the homepage like you have for Thinking Machines, and it's very altruistic. It's like making AI for the good of humanity, for the good of society. Research is better in the open. She's encouraging people to publish their work. Will the people who provide billions of dollars that is required to build these things continue to provide the billions of dollars that is required to build these things if you're not showing some income? That's my big question.
Yeah. I mean, I read the homepage very carefully, trying to figure out like what was, as you said, is this like something they're releasing as a stepping stone? Is it like just a kind of a, oh, by the way, we've done this along the way? I mean, it does sound like it probably is, because I mean, they do talk about, they are building foundational models.
Yeah.
And they are talking about creating models that are really good for science and for the progression of science. They're talking about, as you said, democratizing the kind of the higher end of AI. And they're talking about creating AI that is not, their focus isn't agentic AI, but they do want AI that is broadly applicable across all tasks that a human might do. And they very specifically talk about being very, that they are product focused, because they think that building products, keeps you focused on what's important in the world. And so that you're building AI that solves real problems. So all that I thought was really, really fascinating. This is certainly not what I expected the first thing to come out of the company to be. I kind of thought, we're all wondering what, for example, Ilya's building over in safe superintelligence, and he's just disappeared. He's just gone away. And we kind of expect that when he emerges, it'll be with the AI god that will rule us all. And
but let's go back to the OpenAI thing, right? Because in order to build a superintelligence, unless Ilya builds a machine from the ground up that learns by reinforcement learning, so no outside data required at all, then the OpenAI approach is the correct one, where you put products out there, because as long as your products are out there, you're gaining data. Right now, you're getting text data, you're getting video data, you're getting image data, which will then be used to make your next generation of models better. And if you lock yourself in a hole and you then don't have access to those amounts of data, and so again, I mean, I really, really hope that they succeed, but I just,
I totally get where you're coming from, but I do think it's really interesting that here we have Mira Murati's company, Thinking Machines, releasing something that appears to be truly, truly useful. But obviously, of course, nobody's really, nobody's hearing about it because it's only of interest to people like researchers who really needed a particular type, an LLM to do a very particular thing that they couldn't get it to do because they didn't have the resources or the know-how, and now this might enable them to do it more easily. Of course, that's not going to be shouted about, hyped up, making all of the headlines. And meanwhile, you have OpenAI release like Sora 2. You can make funny videos of yourself, and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit, again, like you, I basically hope that Mira Murati makes this work because I like how sensible it all sounds. But is that what, in inverted commas, wins? Who knows?
I don't know. It's more of as I said, it's more of a government moonshot to me. That's what I tell you. And I'll give you a practical example, right? So at the moment, it's almost a joke, right? So OpenAI come out with Codex. It's the best coding model in the world. Then a week later, Anthropic come out with the new Claude, and it's now the best model in the world. And then a week later, Google come out with a new version of Gemini, and it's the best model in the world. And then a week after that, OpenAI come out with another model, and round it goes, right?
Yeah.
And they're pushing each other forward. They're getting better and better all the time. One of the things on Thinking Machines homepage is they want to make models that are really good at scientific discovery and coding. And, there's a first mover advantage here because developers at the moment are jumping from one model to the other model. And, a very common workflow is that people will use Claude to come up with a high level plan and then get Codex to implement the plan. People at some point in time, and it's not going to take a long time, maybe in the next 6 months or 12 months, they will become comfortable with one model or the other, right? It'll be like you like to develop in Java or you like to develop in Python or you like to develop in PHP. I like to develop with Codex or I like to develop with Claude. And it becomes really hard for somebody then to come in from the side and say, oh, we got a new model for coding and it's really, really good, which will be the Mira Murati model. It's a hard sell because people haven't used your model at all. So I think, as I said, I hope that this is a step on the way to something brilliant. But it is hard. The first mover advantage matters.
So you mentioned there that, you mentioned GPT-5 coming out and being the best coding model. And then now we've got Sonnet 4.5 from Anthropic. Yes. Have you had a chance to play with that at all? Because I know that previously you were a huge Claude fan, and then GPT-5 won you over.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll be honest, right? I haven't had a chance yet to sit down with the new version of Claude Code. That being said, the vibes I have seen on the internet from people who use these tools is that it's about the same as Claude Opus, so the previous version of Opus. So it's definitely a step up. It's definitely better, but it still falls over with big, complicated code bases, which was the thing that really impressed me with Codex. So.
Right.
I mean, I will get to try it, but from what I can see, I'm not expecting it to be better than Codex. I'm expecting it to be a little bit worse.
Right. Sure. Well, before we finish up, have you? I don't know if as you know, I'm an actor as well as a marketer, and maybe that's why this has been all over my feeds. But have you come across Tilly Norwood?
Tilly Norwood is she's the actor from Leeds, is she? Actress, I should say.
Is she from Leeds? She might well be, actually. Yeah. She is an AI avatar actor, and she has just blown up on my feeds. And people like Emily Blunt have talked about how awful Tilly Norwood is. The whole concept of Tilly Norwood. What's the other? Natasha Lyons or Lyon? Is it anyway, loads of like very big names coming out, and even SAG-AFTRA came out, the big actors union in the States came out and basically said, look, acting is a human endeavor and should always be a human endeavor, and this is
get with the plan.
Their exact words, but basically this is an abomination.
We talked about this about a year and a half ago, by the way, when the first of these, and we said, in another year or two, this way, we'll be able to make movies. We're not quite there yet, but that's definitely, and especially for, let's say I got into the movie business like you, Frank, and, there was a particular scene and I might have wanted a body double for this particular scene, right? Because nobody needs to see me, certain positions. Now you don't need that anymore. You can just get AI to do it. Tilly Norwood will do it for me. Fantastic.
I don't even understand how the Tilly Norwood thing has blown up so hugely, because I mean, she's clearly not going to take anybody's job. I mean, she's not great. She's about as good as my HeyGen avatar, and I can't see anybody casting my HeyGen avatar. And I think this must be probably one of the cleverest PR moves that I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's getting a lot of attention for this AI production company who, I don't think even if somebody wanted to cast Tilly Norwood in something, I just don't think she's there. I don't think they have the technology, judging from what I saw on their site. But they're probably getting a lot of attention now, and probably they'll be able to sell their other services, which things that we know are being used already in Hollywood, like minor visual special effects and things like that. But I think it's quite bizarre the way Tilly Norwood has captured people's imagination. I think it must just be these like constant reminders of like whether she can do it or not. It's another reminder of this is coming. And
yes,
I think right now a lot of the backlash from Hollywood and from actors is still very focused on AI and about to me it seems to be, it falls into two camps. One is this is awful and it's never going to be good enough to replace a human, or AI itself is an abomination, and even if Tilly Norwood can act in a film, she should never be allowed to. The technology should just be set on fire. And we're still railing against AI, and like AI isn't the problem here. I think the problem is capitalism, because we all know.
Stop that now. Get out of that. Capitalism is the reason we're here. It's the only reason we have AI.
But if AI can produce a film or an actor that people will pay to watch, then yes, absolutely.
Here's a capitalist idea, Frank, right? Let's say within Sora 2, I had a setting which said that I want to share my image with the world, but you're only allowed to create 5-second images for free. But after that, if you want to create longer scenes, feel free to use me, but I charge, $10,000 just to get out of bed, whatever that fee is, right? Depending on how famous you are, you can change the fee. So you could be starring in loads of movies. The movies could be 2 hours long. You get paid for every single one. That's capitalism, Frank.
Yeah, and that sounds fabulous. But who is going to pay for that if they can get Tilly Norwood cheaper, when Tilly Norwood is actually capable of acting in a movie? Like when the technology reaches the point that you can just invent somebody, the studio itself can just have an AI department that invents an actor that stars in all their movies.
How many movies have you watched, right? Or how many movies do you know of that somebody said, oh, you should watch this movie, and you go, oh yeah, is it good? Who's it starring in it? And it's like, oh, it's Tom Cruise or whatever. You go, oh, I hate Tom Cruise. If it had Arnold Schwarzenegger, then I'd totally watch it. Job done. Now you can watch Mission Impossible, but Arnie could be the main dude.
Sure, but the point is that Tilly will become the new Arnie, or Tilly will become. She won't become the new Arnie, but you know what I mean.
I don't think so. I think there are still it'll be very interesting to see what pans out, because people have personality, and you get people like The Rock, or you get people like John Cena, and those people have personality and they've got charisma. And I watch their movies because it's a John Cena movie, and I like John Cena. He's funny and he's entertaining, and I feel a connection to John Cena that I don't think that I would feel to Tilly Norwood. Yes.
So here's my counterpoint to that, right? Have you ever stood outside a beautiful old medieval church, and you're looking at it and it's built from stone? You can't even imagine how on earth people built it when it was built. And you're looking at it and you think, that is beautiful. That is so much better than what we do today. Why don't we do that anymore? Why are we not building things with this craft of stonemasonry anymore? Because it was better, it was beautiful, it was you know, I think that there's a danger, there's a possibility that that's the way films go, that we kind of, things were better when it was humans. Why don't we do that anymore?
Hold on
But
a
the
second. You
reason
see,
is
your definition of better here is wrong. Right? I bet you that in that beautiful old church there isn't a single 90-degree angle. I bet you that it's cold inside. I bet you there's no running water. I mean, by every measure of modern convenience, the modern house, which you consider to be more ugly, is more cold. It's currently 23.5 degrees here in, AI Argument Towers in Tremor and Waterford. And it's about Baltic and it's windy out there. If you were in one of those old churches, I bet you it wouldn't be 23.5 degrees. Your definition of better is the problem here, not the technology.
Well, I just think that I just think that we may end up with something, cheaper, shoddier, not as good, but it's just a commercial reality that's how it'll play out.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree, Frank. Until next week, have a great week and we'll talk to you soon.
Chat to you then.